how our thoughts and emotions are not real. Even making that statement, people go, you're full of shit, and crack at you. But one of the things that I want you to think about it. When you're going along and you're cruising along through life and you're cruising along through your day and your day's going pretty groovy and you're just having a good old day, and then something happens, someone does something, or you have a thought run through your noodle. And as you have that thought, you then feel some emotions. And then you find yourself going in a spiraling direction. One, you can be spiraling up if you have a joyful thought, and another, you can be spiraling down if you have a not so joyful thought. But the thing that I want us to really look at our reality, because when it comes to creating what we want, all we're doing is placing a perception or an assumption into the field. We are impressing upon the field a energy, a thought, or a vibration, a frequency. And so when we look at it, if we sort of break it down and slow it right down, we recognize that the field, the unified field or consciousness, is just resting for us to imprint that which we are choosing to believe or assume onto it. And as we do, it then reacts. It responds to that which is being placed into it. It's like we're making cakes all day long, and whatever mixture we put in the cake tin, we get that sort of cake. So when we slow it down, when we're in a good place, it's easy to then dissect and open up and become aware. Oh God, I'm keep getting these sort of results. So what are the assumptions and the meanings that I place on it, that I'm placing on things? And when we looked at our emotions and our thoughts are not real, we go, well, hold on, what actually is going on here? These are meanings, and these are assumptions that we are just putting in place, and then we are just running with them. And I recall my young fella when he was young, I was teaching him how to kick goals in the rugby ball, how to kick a ball over the post, and he was getting really angry. And he'd boot the ball and it'd go flying off in a direction. And all it was his accuracy was out. But he was started getting really angry. And I said to him, I says, what's that energy before? What was that energy before you started getting angry? What was it? Was it anger? Is there anger just coming through consciousness? Or is it a meaning, an assumption that you're placing upon it? And you are turning pure source energy, because it's just pure source energy at its core, and you are turning it in because of the filters, the perceptions, and the feelings that you're placing on it to behave in a certain way, and then you named it anger. You call it anger. And when he just used the energy and removed the meaning from it and the emotion about it, but had the energy there, he kicked fine, he kicked straight. He was able to achieve his objective. So when you look at your life, when something's not going a certain way, we need to break down the assumptions that we have put in place, the meanings and the assumptions that we have put in place, And then we look at the emotion that we have subscribed to it. And this is one of the things that we do that I really look at it when I look at healing, when I look at dis-ease in someone's field. It's one of the big things that I consciously look at and get people to look at with their awareness. Because at the end of the day, everything's just source energy. It's just vibrating and it's just being put in a certain box, shall we say, or cake mixture, and it's creating a certain frequency. Yet if we change that, we are then able to create another outcome. You know, it's like Dr. Wayne Dyer says, you know, the assumption of something being easy or hard, both are true. It's all dependent which one do you choose. You know, it's the assumption that you make. And so then we start looking at, oh, geez, what assumptions do I have around my life? What's the assumption that I keep hanging on to? And if you're finding it hard, you know, you're finding work's not flowing your way or your relationships are not flowing your way, you then begin to start having a look at your assumptions where it comes to money, or it comes to your place in the world, or your place in relationships and how you see yourself. And if you can allow yourself to stop and allow yourself to look at the assumption that you have and the relationship that you have with anything, if the relationship is anything other than pure love or joy or peace, then you know there's some form of judgment in here or some form of comparison. You are not knowing yourself as the truth. I smile because on Sunday morning there was a knock on the door, and we'd just got back from training, and I went and answered the door, and there was 2 Jehovah's Witnesses there, and they were here to share the good word, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. And but I began to talk to them, and I had quite a good conversation with them, and they were gibbering on and going, you know, Jehovah's this, Jehovah's that, and I smiled, and I said to them, but you realize you are God, don't you? And they says, no, there's no way that we can be God. God is beyond us. And I says, but you realize, and one of them said to me, if I was God, I would be able to heal myself. And I went to say to her, well, who do you think heals you anyway? What do you think heals you? And then Terry Ann sort of said, Doug, breakfast, stop playing. Because I was having fun with them and saying, you know, the perceptions that's going on here, we must have a look at it on what we're believing to be true. And so, you know, I had dropped a couple of little other bombs in there to get them thinking about stuff. But the thing that I'm pointing out, wanting to point out here for you, is when you are playful with it, and when you see what those ladies were doing was giving their power away, that there is a God outside of them. They did not recognize that they are a seed of that same true essence, as we all are. We all are. And when we step into that frequency and we know ourselves as that, we open to a anything is possible. Because as soon as you say that you're not God, or you can't heal yourself, you have put a shield around it. You've made an assumption of a non-truth. And that assumption and that non-truth creates a vibration and will give you a certain result. And when you look at it, whether whether it be Buddha or Krishna or JC, any of the ones that have walked the path, they know. They don't go around saying, I am this, I am that, but they just know there is no resistance. There is an assumption. There is a knowingness within inside itself. When we connect into innocence in ourselves, in no sense, and we are just resting in the joy in ourselves, we let go of all the assumptions. And we begin to then see what's obvious for us, what's obvious. Yet, so long as we are holding on to our assumptions and our perceptions of how we think things are or are going to be, we are caught in those realms of vibration, and we experience that. So looking at that, you go, well, hold on a minute. It's one thing to say all this, so one thing to do it, but how do we do it? How do we know? And how do we live from that place? And the best way that I've found to do it is just to keep asking for what's the truth. And when I keep asking for what's the truth and I get an answer come up, the question that's there is, well, hold on, where did that answer come from? Is it an assumption on some deeper level? Is it a perception? And every time I've found the truth, it's just, there's just a knowingness, there's just a peace, there's just light. And you just keep breaking it away. There is acceptance of all that is in any moment. Because when you are seeing it through the lens of truth or oneness, you just see the different array of levels of consciousness that are playing out. If you have this assumption, you will have this level of understanding, of experience. If you have this one, you have this experience. If you have this one, you have this experience. They are all the same, but they are just playing out through which lens you are looking through. But the trick, the biggest trick, is to be able to come back and be in innocence, or be in your heart's desire, or be in the truth. And then what is thy experience I'm choosing to make? Because anything that we are looking at is, it's like my teacher, he said to me, because this is way back when, I broke up from my first wife. And I'm sitting with my satsang teacher. And I said, I'm not going to get in a relationship. I don't want relationships. And he said to me, he says, is that totally true, that you don't want to be in a relationship? And I sat with him and I went, yeah, it feels pretty true. And he says, totally, 100% true. And there was a little eek inside of me, and he felt it. And he says, so no, it's not 100. I have to say, no, it's not 100% true. And he says, good. Yet that is the experiencing that you are placing out into the field at the moment because of your pain, your suffering, and whatever's going on. And I said to him, asshole, basically, because he was calling me on my stuff, and he just giggled. But basically, it wasn't 100% true, but because of the meanings I had placed upon it, that's what it felt like for me there. And it was nothing more than the meaning. And he just held me in that love, and he held me in the truth. And then all my big old stories just collapsed in the field. And then I realized, no, I did want to experience relationships, but I was just scared. And I was hurting, and I was whatever emotions and stories I was telling myself, I was lying to myself, and I had bought into the delusion. When we look at that, when we look at what's going on there, we go, oh, that's all just a story. What's the truth? And you come back and you rest and you sit very quietly on the consciousness. And in doing that, you are able to create whatever you want. Because then what happens by having awareness of that, you become awake. You awaken to the situation, to what is there for you. You're awake to it. You're not just falling asleep to the perception or the assumption that you're making. You are saying, no, I choose to stay awake. I see my assumption. I feel my emotions. I see with them going there for what they are. They are not, and I know they are not true. I know they are perceptions. And I choose to sit back and I observe them. The trick there is to stay awake. And when we stay awake in that, one of the things that throws up, what our emotions throw up, is they'll throw up a tamasic type energy. It's like a sleepy type energy to try and knock us out again so that we stay stuck in our old way of being. And it's like our ego, our identity, throws that emotion up, throws that energy up to knock us out, to keep us safe in that old way of being. Yet when you are conscious and you are sitting in that place of consciousness, you are able to recognizing it for what it is, and you are able to calm the ego and that old identity of yourself by just sitting there in peace with it. You sit with it while it shatters, and you are just sitting there and it's going, argh. And as you sit there, it realizes it's safe, that it's not going to be killed, it's not going to be pulled apart, and it is able to let go. But it's being able to stay present in the unraveling of it that will set you free. Yet most of us, we go to sit with it, we go to sit with the assumption or the emotion, and then it gets close to the bone, where we're being bone raw honest and we're going into the truth, and then we pop out. And that happens in two ways. The first way it happens is it becomes, the assumption becomes, the emotion gets too painful, or we have a really negative thought and it knocks us. We lose our center. Or the other way it does it is we go into bliss. And when we go into the bliss, and I touched on this yesterday, when we go on to the bliss, we get excited with the bliss, and we lose our consciousness. We chase, we go, whoa, I'm there. And as soon as we go, whoa, I'm there, you lose that holding that space. And so one of the things that we look to do here is when we are sitting in, and a lot of you guys already do this, you sit in your consciousness and you are aware of your emotion, you are aware of the perception that you know is not true, and the oscillating structures going crazy, and you're seeing your behaviors that do not serve you. You're seeing it all. It's all just playing out in front of you. You're seeing it, and then you drop into the sweet spot. But as soon as you drop into the sweet spot, you allow your attention to shift. And I know that's because that's what I've done when we do this, we drop and we go into a story. Yet when you stay in that slipstream, when you stay in that sweet spot, it opens to a deeper level of knowing thyself. Now, one of the reasons why we jump out of it when we get into that bliss, or one of the things that I've recognized why we do it, because on the other side of that bliss is maybe what you actually really want, what your heart desires. And there's still a piece of worthiness, or am I allowed to know myself as that yet? And we knock ourselves out. And again, it's just playing with it on finer levels, just these different levels of consciousness that are just playing out. So the thing that I'm wanting to get across this morning is for us to really be mindful on our thoughts and our emotions and realizing that they're not real. So when you come into a situation where something may not be working for you, or you are finding struggle, then you know you are caught in some old perception. And you know it's not right, real, or true. So when we move our attention back inward and go into innocence, and we let go of whatever level, that level of perception that we are seeing reality through, and know that it is just a perception, and we come back and ask ourselves the truth. What's the truth here? We are able to let go of that reality. Doesn't mean it changes automatically, but we are no longer caught in it. And then when we can see it clearly, and we release the emotion, because the emotion covers our pains, our beliefs, where whatever's going on, and we come to peace with that, then we're easily and effortlessly asked, what's my obvious next action step? And your current reality will be whatever it is, but you'll find an action step that guides you out easily, because there's always a way to where you're wanting to go. And you go, oh, you just got to let go of that. Let go of the trying to make it happen. Step into a deeper level of trust. Know yourself as the truth. And it begins to unravel so that you're totally peaceful. Easy to say. Sounds simple, but not so simple to do. Because it's like walking through a landmine with all your identities looking after themselves. But when everything's approached with love, when everything is approached with kindness, they begin to dissolve. And it is just having awareness of them. One of the big mistakes that a lot of us try to make is we try to go fast because we think we're trying to get somewhere. But it's not about trying to get somewhere. It's about being willing to be thyself, to be in this place. Because the brighter that you are within yourself, the more you illuminate in your field where those old resistances are. And as you move into your field, as you move into the essence of yourself, and it illuminates more, it brings things out of the shadows that you could not see before. And you go, oh, I have a deeper meaning on this. And it's not right or wrong, it's just what's there. And this is why they say, you will be continually growing till the day that you go back to being just the pure light. When you decide to tap out and leave the planet. The journey is to master individualization and know yourself as wholeness, as oneness. And when we master that, everything's just a play. Then we realize it's just a game, and we just create whatever we want to create. But we are no longer caught in thinking that there's problems. And we are totally okay with trusting our true nature and allowing things to unravel as they do. And when we get some things that we don't necessarily like coming into our reality, we go, okay, what am I hanging on to here? What am I creating? And we just allow ourselves to become mindful of it. We all have it. So, there's no need for any shame or guilt or, bashing yourself up. You're just coming up to, wow, it's like you're playing a little computer game now. Wow, I'm at the next level. What do I got to do here? Cool. And, we get bored if we're not being challenged. And the more that we can do this, we go beyond, we open up. And that's what I really, really am stoked about. And what I'm really wanting to take us into is really looking at our perceptions and the emotions and unhooking them. Because if you can see that an emotion of anger, because brother anger comes up, brother laziness comes up, brother shame, guilt, fear, they all pop up. But they're just emotions. It's just energy that we are putting a perception on. Some trigger happens inside our life and we respond a certain way. And one of the biggest things that we do is the more that you become conscious of them, the more that you see that they're a lie, that it's non-truth. But that takes work. And it's okay, you fall back asleep, because we all do. And then we come back awake, and we fall asleep, and we come back awake, and we fall asleep. The more that we begin to stay awake inside of ourselves, and what I mean by awake is having a conscious awareness of what's going on. Soon as you realize you are caught in one of your emotions or one of your thoughts, you're awake. Soon as you realize, you don't got to go trying to wake up because you're already awake. Soon as you realize. So you don't got to go and fix it because you're already back. And that was one of the biggest helps that when my teacher taught me that. He says, don't, if you go unconscious, like we all do, but as soon as you realize that you've gone unconscious, you're already conscious. And I went, oh. He says, so there's nothing to do because the non-truth then dissolves away into the background. But you can then see what made you, what took you down that unconscious path. And you go, oh. And it's a practice. And it's a practice. And for many of us, it's, it's like when you first start this journey, it's like you're walking on the edge of a razor blade. But it gets easier to stay the longer you do it because the path widens. But we still fall off it. I know I do. Go into certain areas of my life and I'll go unconscious. I know I do. But I'm becoming very conscious that I'm going unconscious. And so what happens there is you then start to look at what's going on. What's my relationship in this area of life? And then it's just some other stuff opens up. And it's really quite cool because you realize how powerful you are and what you're creating in your life. You're a genius. You guys are all geniuses. You're amazing at what you do because you're creating what's going on in your life. And you're waking up to that genius inside of yourself. So now it's about starting to learn to use it in a powerful way. And you can create whatever you want, assume whatever you want, doesn't matter. You can bring it into a manifestation. You do it through your imagination. So for today, because we have a healing tomorrow, see how conscious you can be of your assumptions. And be okay when you feel uncomfortable. One of the things that I love is, usually know when you're being really focused and conscious on something, you're gonna get all sorts of shit thrown in your face. It's just how it is. You're gonna hear all your negative talk. You're gonna have all your negative emotions. They're gonna come up. But as they come up, you just allow them to go into the fire and just burn off. You just let them go into the fire and burn. A magician, someone that works with magic like you guys are, and being a conscious creator, you realize that it's just old wood and you just allow it to be burnt. You just allow it to go into the fire. The non-truths just go into the fire. You just bring everything into the fire. And I love that teaching by Rumi. You just walk into the fire and allow everything to burn because you know yourself. You are the light. You are wholeness. So you're not going to burn. Only non-truth will burn. And so I love that teaching. It's one of my favorites where I, whenever I get in struggle, whenever things are not going good, I just go walk into the fire and go, okay, we'll burn the fucker. And it's just, man, just let it burn. Whatever's not truth here, just let it burn and I'll see the truth. And it unravels. And it unravels to the level that I'm willing to see it. And then I go and do the dance again. And you keep doing the dance until one day it lets go fully. There's never a rush. It's always perfect. It's just, what do you want for yourself? As this loving being on this journey, what do you want for yourself? And then that's when we start really looking at our true heart values rather than our ego's values. And that's for another day. But it's something that we look at. Okay, guys, blessings, enjoy, have a great day. And remember, just keep coming back to the truth and just observe. There's nothing to be done. There never is. But just be aware of your whatever's there and then just allow it to be burnt off. And just keep coming back into peace, coming back into joy. And you'll see that it'll start unraveling. Okay? Have a lovely day, guys.